So Lauren Boebert, Representative Lauren Boebert, or as I like to call her, Dollar Store Marjorie Taylor Greene, she stepped in a little bit of hot water recently. And stepped in hot water. Is that even the way the phrase goes? I don't think that's the way the phrase goes. Whatever. You understand what I'm saying, so it doesn't really matter if I get it right or wrong. She has been going around at all these like right-wing events and telling this story. It was totally made up about Ilhan Omar. She tells this story about Ilhan Omar was in the elevator with me, and I was scared until I looked over and saw she wasn't wearing a backpack, and she didn't drop it and run, so I'm safe. In other words, I thought this congressperson was a terrorist, but it's okay. She's not because she's not wearing a backpack, so we're good ski. She literally calls Ilhan Omar and the squad the jihad squad. I think that's maybe I'm going to be kind here. You think that's maybe a touch hyperbolic? There are other words we could use for it. Bigoted, xenophobic. But you think maybe that's just a touch too far? Lauren Boebert. Okay, well, Fox News can't even put their spin on this to make this sound okay. What happened was, after she was caught telling this story, it was a totally fabricated story. So Ilhan, of course, was like, the idea that she was in the elevator with her and whatnot. So Ilhan was like, you're making this story up, and also it's massively bigoted. What the fuck are you doing? So Lauren Boebert calls Ilhan Omar. I guess nominally, I would have, if I was Ilhan, I would expect her to be like, all right, my bad. I'm sorry. I won't tell that story again. I don't know if that's what happened. I don't know if she apologized initially, but either way, Ilhan was like, you need to apologize publicly. Because what you said is dangerous. I'm getting death threats, and this is insane. Like, do the right thing. To which Lauren Boebert responded, hell no, and then she started demanding Ilhan for an apology. Apology for what? Okay. I'll save the rest for after. Take a look at the Fox News clip on it.
We have another chapter tonight in the feud between two congresswomen. One Republican who said something that even her colleagues on her side of the aisle have condemned, and one Democrat who's reacting to those remarks and pushing back. Congressional correspondent Chad Pergram tells us who's involved and what's being said tonight. Good evening, Chad.
Good evening, Brett. There was a call today between the congresswomen. It lasted about 2 minutes. It did not go well.
I will continue to fearlessly put America first, never sympathizing with terrorists. Unfortunately, Ilhan can't say the same thing, and our country is worse off for it.
Lauren Boebert said she wanted a meeting, but Ilhan Omar made it clear that would not happen. Both parties tell Fox there were no raised voices on the call. Boebert tells Fox Omar hung up on her. Omar's office says it was clear the call wasn't going anywhere. Omar says Boebert doubled down on her remarks. Boebert said she wants Omar to apologize for anti-Semitic and anti-police rhetoric. Omar's office tells Fox the Minnesota Democrat announced she was ending the call, then hung up. This remark is what sparked the dispute.
I looked to my left, and there she is, Ilhan Omar. Oops. And I said, well, she doesn't have a backpack. We should be fine.
Boebert also referred to Omar as a member of the, quote, jihad squad on the House floor earlier this month. Democratic leaders demanded the GOP, quote, take real action to confront racism. Democrats have tinkered with trying to censure Boebert and remove her from committees. The House already voted to strip Republicans Marjorie Taylor Greene and Paul Gosar of their committee assignments.
So now Ilhan is getting death threats. And she called a press conference and played one of the voicemails of the death threats. And you got everything in there. You got N-word, terrorist, we're going to come get you, I promise you, all that stuff. And this is a direct result of what Lauren Boebert is saying. She is, ramping up anti-Muslim sentiment in the country. And it's not even debatable. It's not even debatable. You can imagine an analog of if she gets into an elevator with some black lawmaker and she's told a story where she's like, at least I see he's not packing heat, so he's not going to rob me because you know how that black on black crime is. If she said that, what would the reaction be? What would happen? Or if she got into an elevator with a Jewish lawmaker, and she was like, well, at least he didn't shake me down for money, because you know how those Jews are with money. What would go down in that situation? But it's so flippant and so casual when it comes to Ilhan Omar. And even, like, the idea that she makes a video afterwards and talks about, can't say that she doesn't sympathize with terrorists. You know that what you're saying is complete and utter horseshit. You're aware of that. And you may or may not be aware of the implications, but either way, the implications are death threats and rising hatred and bigotry. And this is, like, where does this come from? Well, it comes from the fact that Ilhan is Muslim. She's Muslim, so they immediately think, terrorism, exactly. And it also comes from the fact that she bothers to make thoughtful arguments about what's gone on in this country with the war on terror. You know, this is a point that Noam Chomsky's made, Glenn Greenwald's made, I've made it. There's this thing that we do which leads to blowback. Even Ron Paul talks about this, where, you know, you waged the war on terror and you killed so many innocent civilians, and you made it so that there were more people in the Muslim world. Maybe they lost an aunt or an uncle or a child or whatever, and now they're more likely to turn to extremism. You are fanning the flames of the fire and making the situation worse by giving people a stronger recruitment tool and a stronger argument. So when Ilhan Omar points out, let's not make this problem worse, let's not bomb innocent people and further radicalize disaffected youth in the Muslim world who maybe lost a family member or something, that's a factual and accurate point, and one that's easily understood by anybody who doesn't have oatmeal for brains. But if Ilhan makes a point like that, it's, you support Al-Qaeda. Even all the other stuff she said, too, is total bullshit. Like, you apologize for your, anti-American rhetoric. Fuck out of here. This idea, like, if you disagree with me on a policy, or you disagree with me on how we diagnose a problem, therefore you are definitionally anti-American, is the dumbest form of discourse there is. It doesn't matter who I talk to. I can talk to my biggest enemy on the planet politically. And I'm not just going to take whatever they say, twist it, and say, you must just hate America. Is that really something that's reasonable to you? The idea, your anti-police rhetoric. Listen, I have problems with the slogan, defund the police. I think it's dumb. It pulls at 18%. I don't know what Ilhan thinks about that particular slogan. I don't know, maybe she supports it, maybe she's used the rhetoric or whatever. But if you bother to read any of the literature, the people who say defund the police, what are they actually saying? Cut the police budget like 50%, put 50% towards social work and 50% towards actual law enforcement, and that is quote-unquote defunding the police. Now, we can have a conversation on the merits of that policy, but let's have a conversation on the merits of that policy. Don't pretend like it's fucking anti-police bigotry or some dumb shit. Because it's not. For once in your life, Lauren Boebert and any moron who's gone down this rabbit hole on the right, just own up to it. Be like, you know what? My bad. I'm unfairly tarring a fellow congressperson, equating her with terrorists and jihadists, and that is dangerous and leading to death threats. I'm sure Ilhan Omar needs 24/7 security, because of the hatred that is stoked by idiots like Lauren Boebert. It's all fun and games until somebody gets killed. So look, I don't think it's difficult. I think you absolutely have to do some sort of official rebuke or censure, or I don't know if she's on any committees, but lose whatever committee assignment she has, because there are real world consequences to this. I have zero problem with robust debate and disagreement, and you could passionately yell at each other and argue with each other and have wildly differing views on stuff. But the issue I have is, number one, just a complete and utter straw man of anything that your opponent believes, which is exactly what Lauren Boebert does to Ilhan Omar. But beyond that, it's the carelessness and the spreading of rampant bigotry and xenophobia and prejudice by comparing her to Al-Qaeda or jihadists or terrorists. And if you don't think that goes too far, I simply don't know how to get through to you. I think that's flat out TFG, not even close. It's just TFG. That's all it is. Too far gone. There's no getting through to you if you're like, I think what she did is fine and reasonable. Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. Completely loathsome. Even Fox News can't put a spin on it, and therefore I'm sure they will continue to double down, triple down, quadruple down, and not stop until there's an actual physical attempt on somebody's life and somebody gets hurt.